Good evening. My name is Zach Waters. I am a first-year grad student here at Indiana State University in the coaching master program. Just a little background first before I get into um, the presentation and what my real project was about. My career objectives, my whole goal of coming back to grad school was I want to become an instructor in an exercise science program um, somewhere, hopefully here at Indiana State. But I really like the lower level classes or the activity classes. I'm off the hands-on, classes where we can be in the lab or the weight room. Um, just the intro classes, the classes that really help set the foundation for um, the program itself. I find those fun. I like to think of them as the building blocks of the program, or the foundation blocks of the program. So. My career goals right now are to be an instructor and teach those types of classes. So for my internship, I was a teacher's assistant. The main class I was in was Nancy Cummins' PE 201, Introduction to Kinesiology. That was where I did the majority of my work at my internship. Then I also helped out with Trevor Paulson's PE 218, aerobic and anaerobic training methods. So my duties as a teacher's assistant, the main thing I was there to do was observe and learn. I don't have a background in teaching. My bachelor's in exercise science. So I really just need to observe and learn and understand how an instructor goes about creating content and really just running a course. How they decide to assign assignments and exams, how they interact with students. Really just kind of see how they make the class run. And then in terms of my hands-on work, I learned how to create some lesson plans, how to properly lecture. Nancy gave me some key tips on how to keep students' attention. Learned how to create and integrate. I never had grading before, or I worked with Canvas or any other type of platform like that with integrate grades. And then for our main project, I provided the students with an assignment, which is what we're going to get into here in just a second. So the assignment was an interview project. I called it the professional interview assignment. It was given to the students in 3 parts. So the first part was they were to find a professional that has a career that the student would want. So one of the main objectives for PE 201 that Nancy has is to help the students find a career that they want to pursue. Some of the students come in knowing what they want to pursue, some don't. So one thing Nancy wants to help them find while they're still fresh in the program is what career path that they want to pursue and start pursuing it. So for this project, I wanted them to find that professional. They would create 8 to 10 interview questions. Then they were to conduct the interview and then turn in a document that had the professional's answer summarized in their own words. And then they kind of just gave it a short in-class presentation for the class to show the class what they got from the project, kind of help class understand the career, the career of the professional that they interviewed. Here's the project outline. Kind of broke it down a little bit. I created this myself and gave it to the students whenever I assigned the project towards the beginning of the semester. You can see here on the left, I had broken it down into parts. The first one, they were to find their professional. The students also had a job shadow assignment they had to do. Nancy and I decided to allow them to use that same job shadow professional if they wanted to, because they were encouraged to shadow a professional as their career they wanted to do as well. Part 2, they were to create the 8 to 10 questions. I was very specific that they were to create questions that would require a well thought out response or an in-depth response, and not just a yes or no answer. I wanted them to ask questions that would give an answer that would help them understand the career more. And then, of course, I just encouraged them to keep in mind that the questions they asked needed to be applicable because it's a professional's time is very valuable. We didn't want to waste their time. And then part 3, they were conduct the interview, and then they were. I knew with COVID, this was assigned at the beginning of the semester. COVID things were still very prevalent. If they couldn't do it face to face, they could do it over Zoom or phone or whatever. They were to do the interview, and then summarize in their own words and turn that in as part 3. We gave them the due dates. Part 1 and 2 were to be turned in together, and then part 3 was to be done later. This document, right, I attached with the outline. I wanted to give the students some guidance as to what a good question looked like and a not good question looked like. So, for instance, I told them the questions needed to be professional and not personal. So, for instance, if they wanted to know how much they were going to make in that career, I suggested that they ask what would be a starting salary for somebody in this profession. That would be a professional question versus a personal question, which would be, how much money do you make? I didn't want them to be offensive or personal with the questions. They needed to be professional. So I gave them some examples of some professional, not professional questions. And then towards the bottom here, I gave them some more specifics on what was actually going to be turned in, a document, which part 1 and 2 was document with certain things, and part 3 was a different document with certain things. So I broke that down as well. And then the bottom part gave the point values for each part of the project, and then their total points for the project itself. This was a grading rubric I created for the project. I gave them this the same day they got the project outline. That way they could see what each piece of each part of the project was worth, how I valued each part of the project. And then I used this as well whenever I graded. I would pull this up on one side of the screen and have the students document on the other. That way I knew I was keeping my point values consistent as I was grading. So that came in very helpful for me as well. What I found while I was grading, like I said, students turned in parts 1 and 2 document. They did very well. I didn't have to make very, very many corrections on their parts 1 and 2. I was very impressed with some of the questions some of the students came up with. They got very creative and asked questions that I never would have guessed to ask, or never would have thought to ask. So I was very proud of them for that. Really, their only biggest struggle, and it was only a few of them, was wording the questions, especially not personally. Maybe 3 or 4 questions from all the students that I have to give some suggestions on how to change. So I was very well pleased with that. And then as I was reading the third part, again, I was really impressed with the content. The students, I think, really got into the project. The responses were kind of lengthy. There's some words were a little more in depth, even more in depth than I expected them to go. So I was proud of them for that. And I was very impressed to see it. They received some very valuable information. I learned some new things about careers I didn't know. So I thought that was very cool to see. And then their short class presentation, I told them just to keep it brief because there's 27 students in the class. Just kind of wanted them to give the key points and the main things that they took away from the interview and what they liked about it. I gave them a project survey as well a few weeks before the project was due. I just wanted to get some data to look at about their personal feelings on the project itself. If they found it useful or not. These are the 8 questions to ask. I was a little more. They were worded a lot better. I didn't want to fill the slide with the verbatim questions. I had them put their full names. Nancy decided that if they would get some bonus points, so we wanted to incentivize them to do that. So they gave the name, the academic year. I wanted to know if they already had chosen a career path to pursue. If they did, if this project helped solidify it. If they didn't, if this project helped them make a decision. wanted to know what they found most helpful, what stood out to them the most, and just rate the project 1 to 10, 1 being the project I think I said was useless, or 10 being they really enjoyed the project. Um, here's some of the results. A little easier to see here. 14 of the students took the survey out of it's a little over 20, I think. So several of them said they already knew what they wanted, or they thought they knew what they wanted to do for doing the project. Of those 14, a little over half said solidified it. A few of them said they may have changed their mind, so I took that as a good thing to do this project. So then maybe they got a little more realistic of what the career was going to be like. A very small portion of them said they didn't have any idea what they wanted to do. And a few of those that didn't know said now they do know. Or so a few said they still didn't know now what they want to do, which I still don't take that as a loss. I just understand. I see it now as they learned about a different career that they know that they don't want to pursue. And then on the bottom left, you can kind of see the 1 to 10 scale. Or at least gave it a 6 or higher. Most of them said it was a 10, so they really enjoyed the project. So that was really good to see as well. I did the lecture a little bit. I come back over the 5 years after I graduated with my undergrad and talked to the students about what a fitness specialist does, kind of the specifics of that career. That's what I've been doing for the past 5 years. So I talked about the fitness specialist career itself, and then I talked about what a day in the life of a trainer from my perspective looks like, because it's different for all trainers, depending on what kind of a facility that they work in. So I gave them a little more insight as to what I do, the type of clients I work with, the classes, and the programs I'm involved with. So I talked about that one day, part of one day, and then the rest of that day and another day I lectured on Chapter 7 for the basic concepts of fitness. The textbook for that chapter talked about, health fitness versus motor performance fitness, cosmetic fitness like for bodybuilding, the aspects of those, and then some basic training principles like your FIT principle, specificity, how to create a basic strength workout or a cardio workout, just the real basics of fitness. So I was excited to teach on that since I've been working on it the past 5 years. And then just key things that I took away from the internship itself, from the interview assignment, or preparation is key. The project prep takes a lot of time and you need to be real specific with the guidelines. Having everything prepared, ready to go is really good for the students. They can see the specifics and they know exactly what is required of them. That took a lot of time, which I got to see, which I feel like is very helpful for me going into this career. And then from lecturing, Nancy helped me realize for these things, maintaining eye contact is important. Shows the students that you're invested in them and wanting them to learn. I need to keep the material as interesting and applicable as possible. I lectured on fitness, but exercise science goes way beyond just fitness. Physical therapy, occupational therapy, several different aspects. So trying to relate the concepts of fitness to other professions that aren't just personal training. So keep the students' attention in that aspect. And then minimize content. That's something I never thought about. They pointed it out. When you use a PowerPoint, basically you want to just put your main points on there, keep them as brief as possible, so that the students start trying to read the slide the whole time and not listen to you talk. So I thought that was really good, because I can sometimes put tips on the slide. So that was a really good takeaway that Nancy was able to help me see. I really enjoyed this internship. Nancy's a great instructor. She has a lot of experience. I've learned a lot from her. How she structures her classes, how you go about assigning projects,